Hey everybody, welcome back to the Convo Couch. It's me. It's Fiorella. I'm gonna hold off until some people get on the Rokfin. Sorry, I'm having coffee. I wanted to do a quick stream And I called it, obviously, it's an inside joke with the MCSC fam. It's the Onlyfams, because I've been wanting to do a stream where we do an Ask Me Anything, so you guys can ask me questions. You don't have to necessarily, I would prefer it in the Rokfin, by the way, because it's hard to keep up with the chat on YouTube. Because we don't have the super raise. And so I really wanted to just talk to you guys about whatever's on your mind. But also, there's a couple things I wanted to mention. So as you know, there's an election coming up in Peru, right? And it's one of the most important elections, not just for the country, but for the region, for the global south. There's a lot of mining going on in the region for minerals and lithium, and Chile, Peru, Bolivia are all countries that are involved in that. You see what's happening in Venezuela, you see what's happening in Colombia. There's a lot of unrest, right? And right now the incoming candidates are the leftist candidate Pedro Castillo and the far right candidate Keiko Fujimori, who is actually accused of war crimes herself, and whose father was a dictator for a long time in Peru, Alberto Fujimori. We covered that here on the couch. We covered it with Frank Analysis. We were going to revisit it as well. But I started looking into something that nobody's talked about, that there was an attack, and they're claiming, the mainstream media, CNN in Espanol, is claiming that the attack is coming from the Shining Path, and that attack killed several people. It's really interesting to me in the context of everything that's happened that they're blaming this segment, right, of this political faction in Peru that really hasn't been making any noise lately. I suspect there's a lot more going on underneath, considering the fact that they have been trying to tie this leftist conservative on social issues guy, Pedro Castillo, to the Shining Path, which says a lot. To me, that says there's some sort of intervention and some sort of something happening or in the works. And the consequences of whoever wins this election could be extremely devastating or extremely beneficial to a segment of the global south. If Pedro Castillo wins this election, then we're going to see Peru take more of a nationalist, more kick the U.S. out of our affairs, stance. They want to redo the Constitution. By the way, pay mind to that. They can just, people are open to fixing their Constitution in other countries, something we haven't really done. And so that is part of what's happening, right? So I really want to go there. I was talking to some people about being an election observer, and I would, as an election integrity activist, I really, really, really would love to do that. So I'm looking to go there next week. And as I got my passport renewed, it would be amazing if I could go cover it on the ground. So what I did was I started a GoFundMe. I just need some money for the flight there and some food. I am getting my lodging covered because I have family there. And this would be really interesting to me because my family's Peruvian, and one of the reasons I'm here is because of a lot of the violence that ensued, supposedly because of the Shining Path and the attacks and the targets on people that were in my family were astounding. So to me, this is like an extremely important issue to cover. So I'm going to post a link in the chat right now that you guys could help me get there. It's just me right now. I might need somebody to help me with a camera once I'm there, but really I just want to be reporting for the fams. I really want us to continue talking about this. I think it's going to be an unprecedented election. I think there'll be protests if whoever wins, on either end. And I love covering what is happening on the ground as well. So let me go ahead and share that link in the YouTube chat, and give me a second. And I also want to talk about a couple other things. And I'm warning Steve Poikonen because he has a show at 4, right? And it's going to be with Jason Burmas, and they're going to talk about transhumanism. So after you watch this, which will be ending right before that, go to Slow News Day, go to Watch the Fam. They're doing great coverage, and go check them out. Okay, so here's the GoFundMe on the YouTube. I'm gonna put it on the Rokfin as well, and anything you guys give me, of course, here I'll also put into consideration for that. It's just the flights are kind of pricey, but other than that, like, I'm trying to go really like low on the cost. Now, it says Cointel Pro on the title because I wanted to mention, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the synthetic left has been attacking everybody. They did an attack on me, trying to paint me as a right winger, as Fiorella Taylor Green. Ben Dixon has been coming after me as well. Now it's Aaron Matei. They're going after Aaron Matei because he's in Syria. He is covering what we already know, right? The OPCW, the witnesses on the ground, journalists like Vanessa Beeley and Eva Bartlett have extensive coverage. They have been in the region, have done extensive coverage. Marwa Osman is another great resource. All of them have just extensive research on how and witness events, especially Vanessa Beeley, if you read her articles, that the Syrian chemical attacks were completely it was a complete lie, right? And they were completely debunked, like I said, by the OPCW. Now, you have people like Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur still repeating the CIA talking points and, their state narratives in a way that is just not even focused on the substance, but if you notice, they're focused on the person. So they say, it's disgusting. How dare you deny genocide? Da, 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 da. And they focus on the whole emotional aspect of it to progressives because that is how they can discredit you, right? They can't refute you with substantiative arguments. So they have to discredit you as the journalist, as the person doing the research. And it's crazy to me that a lot of these attacks have happened at the same time to a bunch of people who are actually telling the truth, right? We have Whitney Webb's latest article with Bill Gates and the ties within that and Epstein. And then we've talked about DARPA, and we've talked about the failure of Fauci, the exposure of Fauci, and the virus, and there's all these things happening right now. A lot of lies are being unmasked right now. So it's no surprise that you have the state propaganda idiots, useful idiots, right? Useful idiots for the machine, just parroting these CIA talking points. Glenn Greenwald has gotten a lot of attacks. You don't have to agree with 100% of the politics of any of these people, including myself. But you do have to understand when there is an obvious attempt to smear, to discredit, and to destroy people who are actually going beyond the just straight up propaganda and actually trying to tell the truth, right? And so that's why I want to be on the ground internationally. One of the things I want to do more than anything right now is to cover foreign policy more than anything. I mean, what happened in Palestine should never be allowed to just stop. We shouldn't allow that to just be last week's news, which is the American thing to do. We just look on for the next thing. And sometimes it's hard for us to cover everything we want to cover because there's so much going on. There's so many things like, we want to cover this, that. And there's only 3 of us. And Jonny largely is doing a lot of, when he's not live streaming, he's doing a lot of like the behind the scenes work that it takes to keep the stuff up. Like it's crazy. All the stories that there are, all the articles that I have, like that I need to send off, like all of these things happening. And meanwhile, also not to get overwhelmed because there's so much going on. So that's kind of like the world we're in right now. And if you're not on the Rokfin, please go to Rokfin, ROKFIN, and sign up for free. It's free. By the way, guys, we have been entirely just taken off the algorithm, which I hope that the title of this video helps, because if people thought I was like gonna do something like spicy, I don't know, like I hope maybe YouTube, because whenever we put like Syria or Palestine or DARPA in our title, we know we're not gonna get anything. You guys don't even get our notifications. So again, we're trying to pretty much just lose dependence on YouTube, right? We're trying to bring more people into Rokfin. I make fun of Paso whenever he's like, Rokfin, Rokfin, sign up for free. But it's true. It's true. It needs to happen. They have just been taking people out of Patreon as well. And we love our Patreon supporters, but just know, like, if they decide tomorrow to take us out, like, they would really, really screw us up. So just note that. So anything that you guys want to talk about, please bring it up in the chat, because I wanted to mention the Cointel Pro stuff with Anna and Shank and Ben Dixon, all the TYT contingents. Whitney Webb was saying she was getting a lot of threats on Jason Burmas' show. She was saying she was, people were signing up just to her Patreon before it got shut down to threaten her, and that's why she's not on social media as much anymore, Twitter. It's getting crazy, and the people who are risking their lives to actually tell these stories are the people you need to be listening to. There's no gain, really, no popularity that we gain by going and talking about the Great Reset. We get like clowned for it, right? We get like, oh, you're such a right-wing conspiracy nut, oh my god, da, da, da. Or like, if you go against if you have nuance in your reporting or your journalism, and you're like, wait a minute, this isn't really a partisan issue, like elections, then you're like, they take you and they're like, oh, you're a right winger. And it's funny to me because it's so obvious to me, and I think to a lot of our audience, that these people are just like useful idiots. But unfortunately, to the vast majority of Americans still who don't get this source of news because we're so heavily, just taken off the algorithm, it could be something that they could easily believe. So we're trying to find new avenues on the show as to how to get the information to even younger generations, and that's something I'm working on, is to I'm going to do something like a different channel that is just focused on just uncovering things, and in a more succinct way as well. So there's a lot of things on the horizon that we want to do, but we're people funded, because we don't take any Soros money. We don't take any TYT money that they took, Clinton money. We don't take any of that stuff. So it's just funny to me how with like a fraction of the budget, a lot of us who are in independent media, the MCSC Network, Slow News Day, Whitney Webb, Jason Burmas, all these people, Frank, they all do amazing work on their own with no budget. Most of them not even for a living. Most of them just do it because they want to get the information out, because they're looking at this from an activist viewpoint. So that's like my hey guys, you're doing a great job. By the way, I love my fams. This is why it's called Onlyfams. And okay, so I'm going to read some super rays, but if you guys have any questions, just send me some questions as well in the chat. Thank you, Rachel, for the super ray contribution. It is always appreciated on this couch. 3-chord grifter. Hold on. This thing is like 3-chord grifter. Let me find your chat. Marjorie Taylor Fee. Yeah, that's what they were calling me. It's ridiculous. And here's the thing about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not a fan, right? I'm not a fan, but I genuinely 100% believe that she, like AOC, are there to distract. They're like part of the culture war, right? Like she peddles the whole, she peddled the whole QAnon, and she did talk about elections. That is the one plus I'll give her. But she literally just peddles a lot of like the culture war from the right. She's like, Green New Deal is this, but she doesn't really attack the substance of the Green New Deal. Like she wants to debate AOC on the Green New Deal, but she's not going to really debate somebody, because AOC is just going to like push it ideologically and say, well, we just want, a Green New Deal for people, and we just want to rebuild and build back better. They can't argue, because neither of them are actually talking about the actual issue, which is the Green New Deal doesn't even touch fracking. It is a private, it is just a whole mechanism to privatize all of the environment, basically, right? These corporations are behind it, these NGOs, all of that. They're not going to talk about that, either of them. So what they do is that they peddle this drama about how like AOC is a commie socialist that's going to bring down the United States, while Marjorie Taylor Greene is a QAnoner, and it's just low-hanging fruit. That's why you never hear me talk about like their little feud unless I'm like telling you it's a distraction, because at the end of the day, nothing is getting done for the people. And when people they're like, oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene, a lot of these progressives are obsessed with her. Like, it's like, you do know this woman has like next to no credibility and next to no power in comparison to AOC, who has a lot of that still, unfortunately. So it's kind of, to me, it's like, you should understand who really is calling the shots here, right? Like, what is actually happening, why they're doing this, why do they do it to distract you. So guys, I'm so bad at like looking at the chat. It's funny. Jackie Pagao, hi Fee, attacking Mate was a really stupid idea on TYT's part. I support the amazing work Mate has done. See, this thing keeps like going off. Okay, that's weird. It just keeps like moving the chat. I don't know. Let me go back to where you were. At 100%, and hope that he sues them. I don't know if he can sue them. See, that's the thing you guys need to know, is when you are a public figure, it's really hard to sue people, because a public figure has less rights in terms of what people can say about you than a person that's not a public figure. And that's something I've learned as well. I took a class in college that actually was talking about that a long time ago, and I do remember that, and I'm like, oh, well, that sucks for them, and here we are. Like, there's so many lies people peddle about me. Somebody said I was a landlord the other day, like, as a matter of fact, like, they're like, oh yeah, she's a landlord. And somebody was like, oh yeah, totally, like, that I didn't know that. Great to know. As if, like, unverified facts, they believe him. Like, when she was saying that Erin Mate was getting paid by X person, right? They say that about me, but they can never prove it because it's not true. But they can say it. They're allowed to say it, and there's nothing I can do about it. You would have to really put in a lot of money and effort to show that that's ruining your image, that's ruining your business, and I don't know who has time to do that, because some idiots they're always gonna say shit about you, right? They're always gonna peddle something negative about you at the end of the day, and because that's what they do. They have nothing else to do besides that. Pasta, if you hear me, can you actually tell me why this chat keeps changing, because it keeps moving? I don't know, it's never done that before. But okay, so Shadowban Refugee, I love Onlyfams. See, I'm just gonna read it from the thing, because I can't, it's completely keeps moving. Maybe I'm just dumb, maybe I just can't, maybe Pasta's the one that monitors the chat for a reason. Let me see. Sorry, bear with me. I'm a boomer when it comes to the chat. I love OnlyFams. Beely was right. I nominate the CNN backpacking, sniffing bucket of cunts to go sniff the canisters fired at Gaza. Whitney is our heroine and patron saint. I love it when you say cuck, and I'll do my part to get you to Peru. Cuck, tube, slaughters, truth, and manufacturer's consent. Have a lovely day. You want it? It keeps. Take the live scroll thing off. I did. Oh, I don't know. Hold on, just
hand it to me real quick, because I don't want to show my face.
Why don't you want to show your face?
Because I haven't even showered yet.
Oh, they can hear you.
Yeah, so okay. They can't see me. It's a big difference.
Okay, Pasta hasn't showered yet, so.
Right there?
Yeah.
Take that off right there.
Oh, okay.
You can go on tips only, or you can go on live chat.
No, I want to go on I want to see what everybody's saying.
Now, when you take off the auto scrolls, it won't scroll on you.
Wow, Pasta, I'm a boomer. I'm a boomer on the chat. Like, I'm a boomer. Wow, Pasta just taught me how to not be a boomer on the chat. I love it. You guys just saw that. I'm embarrassed. I can't believe the boomer taught me. Yeah, it's the OnlyFams. See, that was nice of Pasta. Happy to know that he didn't shower. Now you all know that he hasn't showered yet. All right, so I loved your comment, Shadowban Refugee. I agree, Cucktube. I agree. I mean, and somebody was like, leftists shouldn't be using that word. It's like, okay, I get it. I get what you're saying. But why are you policing these people want everything according to their terms. They're authoritarian leftists. Anything you say or do must be approved by the gatekeepers or you're not a leftist. It's fucking ridiculous. Thank you, Reeve Barker, for the tip. I appreciate you. Let's see who else. What's up, Steve Cutler? Nice to see you guys. Let's see. I'm trying to get through the chat. Thank you. Lucky Burrito, I've been using your masks whenever I have to wear them. So thank you. They're very cute. Christopher Dobby, can you look into what's happening in West Papua? What's going on there needs attention. It could turn uglier than it already is. We will look into that. We're going to have somebody come and talk about what's going on in Ethiopia on Wednesday, by the way. And a lot of people aren't talking about this. The progressives are already saying that it's genocide because that's the state narrative. See, here's my issue with them. They take everything that they're told and they're supposed to be like revolutionaries and anti-imperialists, but they take the state narrative propaganda and they just regurgitate it without doing any substance. And thank you to Red Sea for always bringing to attention all of these issues that have been going on. And she has been just wonderful in terms of like talking about Africa and the just what's going on there, because a lot of the times that gets completely ignored. It's it's part of the whole thing, and like very few people have talked about it, so we're gonna have somebody come in and talk about it, and I'm excited to do that because nobody's been talking about it. And now like what it looks like to me, just from what I've read thus far, is that they're trying to do another Syria in the Horn of Africa. They're trying to say this is genocide when it isn't, and anybody that says anything against it gets called the genocide denier now, right? Without these people having done any research. It's absolutely freaking ridiculous. And these people, I mean, I don't really care if they're left or not, but I wouldn't consider them left. For your integrity and feisty attitude, follow up Chile's elections about changing the constitution. The right got 38 out of 155 seats, lots of independents, and left one. Yeah, Gone Girl, but also Whitney Webb, who was living there, was saying how like it was very bad. You couldn't leave your house. You only had to leave your house within certain hours. There was like, you had to be vaccinated to do a lot of domestic things. So you know how like they have vaccine passports on an international level? They had domestic passports for just doing basic activities. She couldn't get a babysitter. So it's not, there's a lot of turmoil. That's what I mean going on in Chile. And I would love to have more time to go to Venezuela and to go to Chile. The good thing about me being there is I speak the language fluently. And I should be able to really find out a lot. I'm really excited, by the way. Tender Lungs, nice to see you. Let's see. Carrie Mark, your auto scroll is on. Yes, Carrie. Pasta figured that out for me. Thank you. Yeah, that was dumb. I have never done that before. If you guys have any questions, by the way, please put them in the chat. Is there anything you want to address or talk about? Let me look at the YouTube chat too, because let's see. If you have, guys, if you're on the YouTube, go ahead and put a question that you might want to ask me. It could be regarding politics, obviously, but it doesn't have to be. You can ask me something else. This is called an AMA for a reason, and I'm drinking coffee. I'm not drinking alcohol. And I just want to say hi to everybody on the YouTube. Jilly Love, Jesus is there. I have found Jesus. Ilfart 219, M Ball, Allison D, John to Emily. Who else is there? Marcus Holbert, Joni Bug. Nice to see you, Joni Bug. I think you go on both, Joni. You do double duty. Steve Stanley. Okay, awesome. Yeah, guys. So again, like if you have any questions, but I could always keep talking about whatever. AREM, there you go. AREM, Fiorella, this is towards your generosity in Peru. I say, so goes Convo Couch, so goes the progressive movement. With as many things are going on, while acknowledging other important issues and nuances throughout debate, in the end, your imperatives, strategic, and policy are where it's at. Everything that should be first or said, essential and central. Thank you. Thank you, Aram, for always being here. It's always appreciated on this couch. What it do, Fee? You're supposed to be my lady because we be on the same shit. We do? What shit are you on, Tenderlungs? Fred Edward, nice to see you. Did I see it? Maybe. We made a list of the t-shirts. We're still looking, by the way. So here's the thing with the t-shirts. We have prints. We have designs that Jonny made for the t-shirts, right? Like I Heart Putin, right? What we want is a company that can print our designs onto their shirts that are either American made or union made. It doesn't have to be both, but I would prefer just American made. It would be fine. And it's so hard, you guys, to find affordable made in America shit. It really is. We've talked about the exploitation and the use of slave labor abroad in the global South, and of course in Asia, East Asia, and South, the Pacific islands. And I wouldn't feel good to allow that to be a thing with what we represent, right? And I have a hard time seeing other people have union made stuff. Besides politicians, people are like, well, Bernie did. Well, Bernie had millions of dollars to fucking play with. Bernie had millions of dollars. So I don't have millions of dollars. Okay. We don't have that money. So it's a lot more expensive for us, but we are willing to work with whoever does it, depending on how many people want shirts. It doesn't have to be a lot at first, but if you know of anything, just send it to us. We're making a list. We're looking into it. Johnny's looking into it. Our merch stuff, though, if you want the Defund the Pentagon mask or Defund the Pentagon, we have the pillows, Convo Couch pillows, we have the mugs, all of that is up there. But we just didn't want to put out clothes that were made in Malaysia with knowing how that happens, right? So thank you guys for any suggestions. Steve, Slow News Day. What advice would you give someone thinking about starting a show in June of 2021? That's hilarious. I would say really don't hold back. Fuck it. If YouTube in June, I think by June 2nd they're gonna say, they said that if they don't consider you commercial, if they can't make money off of you, they're gonna shut you down. So I would say don't fucking focus on YouTube. Try to find Odyssey, Rokfin, and focus your efforts on building that instead, and don't censor yourself to try to make YouTube like you so they don't shut you down, because eventually they're going to shut you down, guys. I don't know if you realize the way we're headed is this transhumanist, soma induced reality. Brave New World was one of my favorite books when I read in middle school, and it's we always talk about Orwell and how Orwellian it is, but Huxley, in that book, you had different classes of people, and people took pills, like a soma pill, right? And more and more kids are just being prescribed antidepressants, antipsychotics, being told that there's something wrong with them when there isn't. And I'm not saying that medication is bad all the time, but I am saying, why should a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old be heavily medicated? Why should they be getting vaccines when they have the antibodies when they're young enough? They don't need all of this. And what's happening in Canada too, I think Jason Burmas mentioned it the other day, is really scary, that you don't need parental consent to get a vaccine. All of these things that are happening, knowing all of this, knowing the connections between DARPA and Palantir and these alphabet agencies and all of the people behind what they want to do in the Great Reset, which is a very real thing that you can look up. It happened. It was a conference in Davos, the World Economic Forum. All of that is real. People say, oh, that's a conspiracy. No. What's a conspiracy is if you make something up. What is a conspiracy, right? That's just an invention. It's an invention by the powers that be. Really, everything is a conspiracy if you think about it, because nobody knows anything for sure. You can just base your information on the connections and follow the money, like people like Whitney Webb does, like people like Corey Morningstar do. All of these people that follow the money. Any journalist that follows the money and makes these connections. That is as much as we can do, because we can't do more than that, because we're not in control, we're not in power. So all we can do is show people, here are the connections, make your own assumptions. And Steve, I would advise them, don't fucking focus on YouTube. Like, sure, put it on YouTube, but really start focusing on how to build outside of these big social media platforms, to be honest. What parrots are you talking about? Are you talking about the parrots here? Because we have fucking parrots here that don't shut the fuck up at all. They like make their little bird noises all day, all night, in the middle of the night at midnight. I don't know if you guys know, but in LA, there's like parrots that like chirp at night, and like birds that chirp at night. It's the weirdest shit. Parrots are pretty, but they're obnoxious. Hi, Jonny Bug. Thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on this couch. Fiorella set up a debate between Jackson Hinkle and Niko House. I could probably do that, but what would be the substance? What would you like them to talk about? And I know who I would put as a moderator as well. Or maybe that wouldn't be a good idea, actually. No, that moderator is biased, so you know what? I could moderate. Okay, I could moderate that. I don't know. Shadowban Refugee said, I'm going to start an OnlyFans doing Alex Jones impressions while removing articles of clothing and talking about conspiracy facts. Ah! Please do that. Can you please do that? Oh my gosh. I thought about that. I'm like, what could get people who are super horny to start paying attention to politics, right? Like if like Pornhub did a whole thing where you could just like, I don't know, upload like some sort of porno video, but simultaneously be talking about the Great Reset. Wouldn't that get some attention? And then you'd have all these horny people talking about the Great Reset, or you'd have like all these horny people talking about like imperialism, Israel, Palestine. Like it would just be like, to me, it would just be, it's very effective. It would be effective. Sometimes people need to be like pushed in, and a lot of the kids these days honestly tune out of politics because they feel like they can't change anything. And the ones that don't tune out are being like just informed by Vaush, which is really scary when you think about Vaush. Like what does Vaush have to say? Yeah, Carrie Mark, I agree. I mean, I was prescribed ADD when I was a kid at like 5 years old, 6 years old. First of all, I also was bilingual. So I had spoke 2 languages at that age fluently, and people don't understand what ADD is. Some people say it's not real. I don't know if it's real or not, but I will tell you, my brain processes a million things at one time. So you have to like, I have to focus on what it is I'm going to pay attention to. But while all these things are going on in my head, that is what's happening. So that's how I would describe ADD. It's like a bunch of programs in a computer being open all at once, and you're like looking through them all, and you can do it. But also, when somebody's talking to you, if the information slips out or if it's not pressing information, you have to make yourself pay attention to it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's more of like society and the system not being tailored to how certain people's minds work. And like, it's okay if your mind doesn't work. Like, I'm going to do this information and then this information and then that information. It's okay. That's just how you were built. And the system should accommodate you rather than make you out to be like there's something wrong with you. And fortunately for me, my parents rejected giving me medication at that age. And now my sister was also told that she has ADHD. Now it's ADHD. It's like the same thing. But to me, it's not, because I wasn't as hyperactive. I was more like in another world half the time, because a lot of the way you're taught as a kid, the information is boring, or I already knew it. And you find that a lot of the kids with ADD, ADHD are extremely intelligent. They just process information differently. And so like, it's that whole saying, right? You can't judge a fish by its ability to climb, right? It's not, you're going to fail. The fish it's not going to be able to climb, but it will swim. It'll swim really well. So that's part of it. Tender lungs, send you a DM on YouTube. Are you talking to me or are you talking to someone else? I don't know. Slow news day. No, totally have me moderate that fee. LOL. I don't know, Steve. I don't know if that would be a good idea, but I thought about it. But yeah, here's the thing with that whole Jack Posobiec thing. I'm not a fan of Jack Posobiec, right? At all. I'm also not going to tell people who to talk to. So again, I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm simply saying, hey, dude, talk to whoever you want to. Just make sure you challenge them with your ideas. And, when it comes to the Zionist attitudes or the police, the bootlicking of the police, I think he's still part of that culture war, Jack Posobiec. I mean, he still benefits from that. People like him, Cassandra Fairbanks, all these people, they benefit off that culture war. So I really have a hard time taking anything they say seriously, even if in person they say something else, like on Twitter. Why are you still doing that? And it just goes to question, like, it's because you're benefiting off this culture war. And yeah, we live in a fucking cartoon, Daniela. That's what it is. We live in a fucking cartoon. And yeah, that was a good segment. I watched it earlier as well with Jason Burmez and Whitney Webb. That was really good. If you haven't checked out our episode with Jason on we talked about DARPA and transhumanism and all of that, it's on Rokfin. You guys should check it out. We did not put that on YouTube for obvious reasons. Okay. So, Steve. No, you shouldn't debate. Steve, when you debate people, you kind of just wreck and destroy them in a way. You eviscerate them. That's the word I would use. You eviscerate them. And I don't know if people are ready for that. Okay. Tony watches closely. Thank you very much. Great idea, Fee, but I already talk about it. LOL. I know you do. Let's see. Emblemed fate. See, I get to say it. Emblemed fate. I don't know where Pasta got emblemed fate. But I don't know why it bothers me, but it fucking bothers me so much. No, you're not a fan of Farrakhan and Nation of Islam, but if it wasn't for my love of black nationalism, I'd probably be about shitlib too. Ask Kayla Maupin too. They are great anti-imperialists. Check them out. I'm not a fan. I just haven't looked into them that much. Of course I'll check them out. Yeah, I have nothing against them. I don't know. I just haven't really checked them out, but I'm not a fan of like any nationalism, but at the same time, I think there are times in history where you do need to like focus on your community. For instance, the United States, one of the reasons Donald Trump won in 2016 was because he was more of a nationalist. At least he presented himself as such, focusing on America first and all of that. That's what he told a bunch of people, right? Whereas Hillary Clinton and a lot of the neoliberals were pushing more of a global capitalism. To me, that is more dangerous. It's the same thing as being a neocon, an international neocon, neo-fascist. It's the same thing. But when you're talking about the TPP and the and NAFTA, and you're telling people who have been screwed out of their jobs and had their lives taken away, their livelihoods taken away because of these, disastrous trade policies, they're going to want more of a nationalist view that's economic terms. In terms of like racial, I think nationalism in general doesn't really help, but I understand why black nationalism exists, right? We live in this society where black people are an oppressed population, and you can disagree with me on that, but I firmly believe that. Now, I do believe that the working class is also an oppressed population, and that's where I think the focus should be more, that the classism is what breeds also the racial inequity, right? Okay. Yeah, I was confused. I told you guys I don't know how to follow this. Reg Economics. Oh my god, is that the thumbnail, that one meme I made? Super cool. Yeah, okay, so by the way, Red Economics actually made this thumbnail, and then Steve shared it and we loved it. Onlyfams. Thank you for making that. I think it's so freaking cute. I didn't know that you could make shit like that. Fate, emblem Fate. Okay. Thank you guys for anything else that you guys want to talk about. I have a few minutes before I get off, and you guys can go watch Steve on Slow News Day because they're going to be talking about transhumanism with Jason Burmas. And then after that, Pasta is going to be on after he takes a shower with Shonda, and they're going to talk about the opioid crisis to hell and back. And that whole thing has so much to so many different connections too, because if you look at like how the opioid crisis is also related to the disaster in our medical industry, not just for not having healthcare, but for the kind of healthcare we have, right? I myself have never been a kind of person that likes to rely on medication. I'm more of a natural medication, Eastern medicine type of person. I would like to see that incorporated more into our medical our system, right? And it's not. Like, whenever they talk about nationalizing healthcare, they don't talk about that shit, and they should. Marijuana is medication. Psychedelics are medication. I did this podcast, actually, I didn't tell you guys, last week with this group called Evolved Idiots. They're here, they're based in LA, and they were talking about psilocybin, and they often talk about that, and it's often used to treat depression. I've done research on ayahuasca. It's one of the things I would like to do, honestly. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of ayahuasca, but they do it in the jungle of Peru. It's not like a drug you do to party or anything. It's like an experience because of the DMT that's in the tea. So that you have to go with a shaman who knows what he's doing, because people have like gotten hurt and died like if you don't know what you're doing. So you have to go with somebody that you trust, that you know what they're doing, and it's like an experience, like it's a multi-day thing where you go and you take this tea, and you basically go and like, it's like you take a trip. It's like a mushroom trip, but it's extended, and it's intense, and a lot of addicts go there, right? A lot of people who have depression, PTSD, heroin addiction, and they say it changes their life. And so more studies need to be done on that, and to bring that into our medicine. So I think it's great that Pasta is exploring that with Shonda and Roar Media, and you guys should watch that at 6. I'm saying this because I want to support. I want you guys to see, the different kinds of things that are happening in the different work all kinds of media are doing. Obviously, not one single channel can cover everything, but maybe a network of us can find the different things that we could actually cover. And yeah, so guys. Oh, Emblem Fate, thank you again for the Super Ray. Thoughts about Taiwan being China and John Cena and Taiwan? Taiwan is China. It's in their name. It always has been China, but for shitlibs and Trumpers, don't think so. Isn't it funny how the shitlibs and the Trumpers agree on China, right? Like, that just tells you everything. I agree. Taiwan is China. Like, and even if it wasn't, like the United States should stay the hell away from all of that, right? Why the hell does the United States have to involve themselves in every single fucking issue? And why the hell do all of these progressives have to pretend that they're rallying cries for oppressed people when like nothing ever happens with Palestinians, with the Yemeni people, with all the people in the global south we oppress, with the reason Venezuelans are so like screwed is because of our sanctions and our embargoes, all of these things. Like it's so crazy to me how a lot of the shit libs and a lot of the far right agree when it comes to imperialism, and people need to start realizing that, like, this is what the things they agree on. There's a reason for that, because they're made to feed into this cultural war that's just complete bullshit and it's imaginary. Meanwhile, we're not actually focused on the real fucking problem. One of the things that I saw in the coverage with Jonny on the ground during the remembrance for George Floyd was that people started to see the mainstream media as a threat. People were talking about that. And then yesterday at Echo Park, there was like people, homeless people and unhoused people that were talking about how they were being like there was surveillance on them, and how they're constantly watched and attacked, even if they stay at a hotel and do the the plan that the city has said, hey, we're going to give you this hotel. They have like a curfew, and if they like are a minute late, like they get kicked out. Like, it's just living in the state of surveillance. And somebody said it's not about money even, it's about control. And if people who are unhoused, who have very little access to what a normal person that has the means to have a computer, the internet, and all this stuff has access to, and they can figure it out, that it's happening even at the local level, what do you think is going to happen at a national level? Like, with everything that's going on, with all the stripping of our civil liberties, with the pre-crime that the DHS actually approved, with all of these things happening, this is happening. Like, there's no like, oh, maybe it's, you guys are exaggerating. No, this is happening. Like, it's actual text, it's actual legislation. And I want to cover that more thoroughly as well. So there's that. And I think I have a few minutes left before Steve goes on. Emblem Fate. Last one. Thoughts on TYT saying fuck Aaron Mate and smearing him? Yeah, we said that earlier. You know, like I said, Eva Bartlett and Vanessa Beeley have done amazing coverage for years on the region, especially Syria. And the things that Vanessa Beeley wrote, the interview she did with witnesses, the debunking of the whole narrative, that was enough, right? But then you had the OPCW, then you had the other journalists come in, and then you had like even people who were of the BBC or CNN, they saw it, and then they had to retract their statements because they were told you can't say that. So it's not a matter of discussion anymore. It's a fact. The Syrian chemical attacks were a complete psyop. It never happened. That it was a completely fabricated event in order to push regime change in Syria. This is what we do. I don't know why it's so hard to grasp. We do this all the time, especially in the global south, but we've done it throughout the Middle East. Hello. Like, look what happened in Libya. And I don't understand. Either you're stupid, like either Anna is stupid, Anna and Shank, or they know what they're doing. And I obviously believe the latter. They're paid to do this, guys. They're paid to do this. They're no longer the home of the progressives. They're not independent media. The money ties are there. Follow the money. They're parrots for the state agencies, and that's that. And they're going to attack anybody who like goes against their narrative. I'm blocked by Anna, Ben Dixon. I'm surprised Shank hasn't blocked me. What's her name? Nomiki Konst. Francesca Fiorentini, that whole group of MSNBC/TYT shills, I'm blocked by all of them because I call them out on their bullshit. And whenever I see something that somebody sends me or whatever, I sometimes go after them, but really, like, why are they going after Aaron Mate? Why are they going after Glenn Greenwald? Why are they going after even some of us? Like, I don't have the power they have. Like, they have all of this access and all of this time to actually take to produce actual journalism, but instead they're focusing their energy on us and Jimmy Dore. Like, what? Like, that's what I mean by Cointel Pro. And it exists. There are people that are paid to actually go and create distractions in movements. And we saw this with the Chicago 7. I don't know if you guys saw that movie, but that was a very, surface level, right? Depiction of it, still a depiction that I think served its purpose for the mainstream audience, right? Shadowban Refugee, me, Pasta, Johnny, Sleepy Josh, Oz, Niko, and Orthodox Steve, etc. are going to have to go and do an OnlyFans strip Jeopardy session on conspiracy facts. Can't allow Ryan Christian in, that would be cheating. I agree. If you allow Ryan Christian, that would be bad for him. But guys, you should absolutely do it. I am all the way for that. I'm going to run the idea by Pasta to see if he wants to play strip poker for OnlyFans. Not poker, but I don't know what it would be, what you would call it. But yeah, no, that totally works. Setting up, much love, fam. See you all in about 10. Yes, Steve, I will watch you. I will see you. I want to hear more about the subject. I think if you pick the shrooms from somewhere bad shit happen, it's going to be a bad trip too. Yeah, I mean, you have to know what you're picking. I mean, I've never picked them myself, but the things I have had are not bad. They're decent. And I every time I've done it, it feels like a spiritual journey. Like every time I'm sort of like, oh, what do I do next? You know how some people are like pray, or some people are like meditate. To me, it's like, oh, okay, this is what I have to do. And like, I feel like it makes me feel, the first time I did shrooms, it made me feel like life was a journey. And I started singing like, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. I started singing that over and over again. And I wanted to take my clothes off and go just be with nature, which it sounds crazy, but actually it makes sense. And I think plants, they're of the earth, and fungi are of the earth, and it connects you to Mother Nature. That sounds like some hippie shit, but I genuinely believe like that's what it is, right? And I haven't even gotten into the Fibonacci sequence and how that's in every living thing in nature and all of that stuff. There's so much stuff that I don't talk about because it's not political, but like so much of that stuff, like I don't know what you would call it, like I don't know what you would call it, but like it's like, the numerical calculations, the particles, and the double slit experiment, all those things. I've always been interested in that, and how mathematics basically proves the existence of just connections between all living things. And I think that's amazing. And I think whenever you trip, you do see that. You're like, wow, like you start seeing the connections more. I don't know. I at least I do. I see the connections and things more, and I feel, even if I feel anxiety in that moment, because sometimes what I feel is so much, like in my general life, like what I feel like is so much sometimes that I like have to like step away and like put like a barrier. So like when you're on mushrooms, it's like you can't. And so it's like, whoa. And so, but then after it passes, you feel better. And it's not something I do very often, by the way, like some people I know. But it's to me, it's medication. I think if you feel like you are depressed, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not a real doctor. But I would say proceed with caution, but it's something that I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's legalized in many states now. And, rather than give people pills, I say explore that. Aram, thank you so much for the tip. It's always appreciated on the couch. It's always appreciated on the couch. It's always appreciated on the couch. And I'm not going to read the rest of that because that's obnoxious. And I bet you Pasta would do it. Chuck Simon, and I'm going to be getting off of here in just a couple minutes. Chuck Simon, what are your thoughts on Nick Brana and People's Party? For various reasons this past week, the Vanguard, Howl Underground, Kyle Klinsky have all called out Nick. Keep fighting, Fee. Okay, real quick, since I do got to get off for Steve, I just want to say a lot of people have been calling out Nick Brana since 2016, right? My friends that were all organizers did not like him. I've said this several times already. I don't know him. I think that they personally could have more transparency. I don't want to talk about them anymore. I am so done with the drama from them. I think that if they want to be a serious party, they need to be on the ground. I haven't seen them on the ground anymore. We did an event with them. We weren't even thanked for doing the event. We were there with Shahid Buttar. There was a whole like, oh, you can't say this. I was being too radical on the mic apparently, and I had to be nicer to the politicians, and I didn't like that. We weren't invited to their little thing at all. We had never said anything negative, but we were like, I'm just really cautious about any sort of party, and I don't think we're paying attention to a party now is the point. I think we need direct action to build an election system that's fair. Electoral politics isn't going to get us anywhere at this point. I just don't think it is. If people want to put their faith in something, so be it. But I personally don't recommend it. I don't recommend any party. I don't think any party right now is paying attention to elections. If you are a serious party, you would be talking to me about election integrity. You would be talking to me about how to really get a fair play against a duopoly. But that's not happening. I don't see that happening at all. Most of them ignore it. So that's one of the things. I do think that there was a lack of transparency. I do think there was problematic people in the organization of MPP. And that's just my personal opinion. Also, I have had friends for 6 years now since the beginning of the Bernie movement. They really didn't want anything to do with that. So that's up to people to decide, right? Yeah, that's that. I do think there needs to be some accountability there. Absolutely. And guys, that's it. Thanks so much for the donations. I appreciate it. Please check out the GoFundMe link. I'm going to post it all over social media to help me get to Peru. I have to get the ticket ahead of time, so I'm just going to go ahead and get the ticket. But I really want to cover the elections, and I think it's important. It's going to be historic. And, you know, as an election person, plus as a Peruvian, plus as an anti-imperialist, plus as a whatever, like I'm just, it would be amazing to be there. So thank you guys for watching. Please go check out Slow News Day stream on transhumanism with Jason Burmas. And right after that, Pasta with, from To Hell and Back with Shonda Masta and Roar Media. Convo out. Love you, fams.